Hey guys, welcome back to Next Level Gardening. Today I'm going to teach you how to prune your bananas, trim your bananas, and do some other things to your bananas that makes them grow faster and produce bigger fruit. So I'm here in the banana walk in my tropical garden. These, as you can see, have grown a lot. They've been here about exactly 1 year. A year ago, there was nothing here except this pink floss tree, silk floss tree, and it was much smaller, like half the size. So I know pruning anything can be intimidating if you've never done it before, but bananas are really forgiving, but they need pruning. Now, maybe you're wondering, can I even grow bananas where I live? If you live in zone 4 through 7, you can grow them, but they will need to be taken indoors for the winter. Zone 8, you can get away with leaving them outside. However, they're not going to look like this through the winter. They're probably going to have some dieback. You can limit that by wrapping them with fleece in the winter. I've seen people take like a loose wrap of fleece and stuff it with straw. That will work. And then you will still probably get fruit. If it dies all the way to the ground every year, you may or may not get fruit. And if you're in zones 9 through 11, this is what they're going to look like after the winter. We are in zone 9B, 10A. So first things first, you got to know a little bit about bananas to know how and why to prune them. First of all, I even call them banana trees because they look like trees. But really, they're not trees at all. They're actually an herb. And what you're looking at right here is not one plant. It's actually a family called a mat. So you can see right here, the thickest one is the mother plant. It's the tallest. And then around it, we've got a teenager right here and a baby one. Actually, a couple teenagers and a couple of baby ones. And this all started as just the mother plant 1 year ago. Each of the baby ones, also called pups, they're genetically identical to the mother, and they all want to grow up and they all want to produce fruit. But if you let too many grow all at once, right where they're at, they're going to compete for water, nutrients, and sunlight. And what happens when there's that kind of competition? You get smaller plants, smaller leaves, and sad little bunches of fruit. We don't want that. So the first thing I'm going to do is get them out of this winter-looking mess. Bananas actually have the ability to shred their leaves in the wind and yet keep their leaves to photosynthesize. But now that winter is over, growth is going to start happening, especially when we get rid of these. And you can cut these off when you see the new curled up leaf appearing. So I'm going to quickly go through and take care of that. And then I'm going to show you how to take care of the family and not only keep them thinned out, but to make new plants and to get bigger, better fruit. Now, my favorite thing to prune bananas with is an old serrated kitchen knife. Here's why. Easy. Hi, Bella. Hi, babe. Daisy just reminded me she loves banana leaves, so I'm gonna give them all this and save money on my food bill. Here you go. All you notice like them too. So for those of you who don't watch us on our Homestead channel, Little Homestead Big Dreams, Daisy is about a week, maybe 2, away from giving birth to our first calf, her first calf too. So I'm going to leave a link down below so you guys can go over there, subscribe, and be there for the birth. Quick tip, between the leaves, great snail traps. So find them and dispose of them properly. All right, now that I've got all the banana plants trimmed up, it's time to go to each family of bananas and find the mom, the teenager, and the baby. So this group right here, it's obvious which one's the mom. However, there are quite a few pups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pups. Now we only want 3 pups. So we're gonna choose the biggest teenager, which is probably this one right here, or the teenager that's growing in the direction you want, which would be the same one for me. And then the biggest, doesn't really matter between these 2 baby ones. So I'm gonna take one. So I'm gonna sever the other ones that I'm not keeping here in this group and move them elsewhere or give them away to somebody. And throughout the summer, keep an eye on it and only keep 3 at a time growing in one area. That's gonna keep your bananas happy, productive. You're gonna have one ready to produce, one waiting in the wings, and a new one that's gonna follow after that. So it's like your own banana production. So I've chosen to keep this teenager facing that way, and I'm gonna keep this baby one on the opposite side so it's more balanced. So I'm gonna take out this one and the 2 over here. I'm gonna start with the smallest one, and you wanna take a sharp spade or shovel, and you're gonna kinda angle it toward the mother plant to get some of the roots off of the mother plant. And it may or may not happen every time. And watch out for the drip tube, if you've got that. Okay, that sounds satisfying. Yes. That's a great amount of roots to get. It can even have a lot less than that and still work. Now I got to dig the hole to put them in. And I probably should have done that first, but banana roots are really fleshy and they hold water a lot more than like I don't know, something else with smaller roots. So they will hold the water a lot better, and I'm not worried about it. Plus it's overcast. And we're just going to tuck it in now. Now, depending on how tall the transplant is, the first one was a baby, it's fine. This one with the big leaves and a tall stalk, there's more of a chance of the wind hitting it and tipping it out of the ground. So all I'm gonna do is take off the leaves, except for this new one up here. Now, if this was a real heavy trunk and didn't have a lot of roots, you don't want to leave it a lot on top to have it support with that tall of a stalk and that small of a root system. The first 2 I did today that I didn't show you, they only came up with like 1 or 2 little roots on them. So I actually just cut the stalk off the whole way through. This new centerpiece is still going to put out a leaf. It'll be cut off and weird looking, the first leaf, but then the second leaf or the third leaf will come out totally fine, and then all the rest of them will be fine. And that'll give these plants a chance to establish before they're tipped out of the ground. That's the next leaf. You can just pull it right out of there, cut that off. Now there's no extra weight on top. All right, things are looking really good, and I've actually more than doubled my banana plant stock. So I've got 2 new pups planted way over there, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a little baby one over there is 7. So that's 9 new plants when just over a year ago, I started with 7. Now, some keys moving forward, or if you're just planting your very first one, bananas are hungry and thirsty plants. So water them very deeply, more infrequent, and deep. A dry banana, a thirsty banana, is a slow growing banana. They also, in order to fruit, now if you're just growing them for ornamental reasons, they don't need full sun. But in order to fruit, think of the tropics. They got a lot of sun there. And so that's what you want to provide them for the best fruiting. Now, in terms of the life cycle, we've already talked about the mother, the teenager, and the baby. Once the mother plant produces its bananas and they're harvested, that plant dies, it's done. And so you cut it off down at the base and throw it in the compost. They compost remarkably quickly. They're probably 90% water. And by that time, the teenager will be the size of the mother, the baby will be the size of the teenager, and you'll probably have another few babies coming on, but just keep one of those babies. You want to make sure you have about 3 banana plants per mat. Mom, teenager, and baby. Now, in transplanting these pups and teenagers that I've done over here, you want to leave enough space. I space them about 4 to 5 feet apart. That's going to give each one plenty of room to multiply and produce its own offspring. And then just maintenance throughout the summer. Just keep the dead leaves cut off. Keep cutting the new babies off because there'll probably be quite a few more throughout the summer. Keeping them at 3, mother, teenager, baby. I don't need to say that anymore, do I? One thing I do want to talk about real quick, because they're called bananas, but they don't produce fruit or flowers. And that is the red Abyssinian banana. These are ornamental and they will not produce pups. They will last, depending on your climate, 2 or 3 years, and then they're going to die. Now, there is a way to multiply these as well, but it involves sacrificing this main plant and turning it into several others. I'll do a video on that when it's time. I might have done a video years ago at my last property, but basically it involves digging up the banana, pulling all the leaves off where you just have the crown, and cutting that crown like a cake or a pie, and then sticking each piece into potting soil. And each one of those pieces will then produce a new plant. So once this plant is old, I mean, this is basically its first good year. Once this plant is old, I'll do that and I'll show you how to do it. All right, you've stuck around this long. It's time for a bonus tip. When you cut off the extra pups, don't just leave the soil bare. Pile up a thick layer of mulch like shredded leaves, wood chips, grass clippings, or what I'm using is just some half-done mushroom compost right around the base of the plants. Bananas love having cool, moist soil. A thick mulch layer keeps the roots happy, keeps weeds out, and basically turbocharges their growth. Happy roots equal a crazy amount of bananas, so compost equals tons of fruit. All right, so that's the scoop on growing big bananas, lots of fruit. Get into the rhythm, pick your 3 plants, prune the extras, clean up dead leaves, and watch your banana grove explode with energy. And hey, if you do it right, you may be giving bananas away by the armload. If you found this helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know down below, do you grow bananas? Do you want to? And I'll see you guys next time.